We're following up on our Humane Society signings here.
She's a human rights advocate.
That's right. She sure is. What a wonderful day. I beg your pardon for getting underway a little bit tardy. There was apparently a big gravel and mud spill on the freeway this morning, and everything is at least a half hour behind. I'm right on time if I hadn't started out 35 minutes late. So I beg your pardon on that. But what's not too late, how's that for a transition, is something that I got a title for myself here: Women's Caucus Bill Signings. Yay. How's that, right? Because we're going to do it shows that the legislature really responded in a multiple way, not just a single. Hi, sweetheart. The issues that are individually resolved, if you will, or addressed in these bills, of course, represent a fundamental test of values and represent a comprehensive and in-depth, I believe, understanding of how we translate what otherwise might be abstractions or academic exercises, conversational asides, even expressions of sympathy or empathy with little in the way of substantive follow-up. All these conditions and circumstances that flood our minds when we either see or experience some of the issues that are addressed in these bills, and more often than not result in a sense of inadequacy or demoralization or a feeling of a sense of impotency. The legislature did not take that attitude or did not allow that kind of an atmosphere to develop, and instead went forward with the idea that we were going to try to put together a series of measures that would address this broad spectrum of concern: human trafficking, prostitution, basic health care for a child in the form of breastfeeding, labor in terms of rights and obligations, health care, and the Penal Code. These are the institutional settings, if you will, within which basic values are being expressed, and we're going to get to those post haste. Forgive me for not having everybody up here at the same time. As you can see, the room is full, it's standing room actually, because every single person here represents either individually or collectively, institutionally, those who help to bring all this about. So I'm going to exercise my role, if you will, as governor, as the catalyst for bringing this good work to fruition today. But in the course of events, then I'm going to ask the legislators then to come up with each signing, because absent their collective effort, we wouldn't be here today. And I'll certainly then I'm going to at the end, when all of the bills are signed, I'm going to then recess into a Quaker meeting, and those who feel moved to say something will be happy to take it up then and have it shared. Does that suit everybody, I hope? And if you think that the work speaks for itself, then that's just fine too. So the first bill that I'm going to address is HB 1068, Human Trafficking. Karen was one of the principal sponsors, and of course everybody here was associated with it. It requires certain employers to display a poster that provides information relating to human trafficking and contact information for the National Human Trafficking Resource Hotline. And then the second bill is again relating to human trafficking, HB 1187. John Mizuno and others again here were among the key sponsors, and of course we couldn't have done it without the chairs. I know the Carl Rhodes. If I missed some of the chairs, that I think Senator He were the principal chairs that the bills moved through. Ah, there he is. Good. I didn't recognize you in disguise with your suit coat on. And,
So handsome, by the way.
yes, right. The handsome Senator He over here. Now I'm going to be in real trouble. This designates January as Human Trafficking Awareness Month and adds minor victims of sex and labor trafficking to the scope of the Child Protective Act and laws relating to the state's child abuse laws. It simply wasn't, I don't think the general public, and perhaps a lot of us, who pay a little bit more attention to these things as a result of our responsibilities, our professional responsibilities, were not clear that the child protective laws and child abuse laws didn't necessarily apply in conditions and circumstances that we would have liked them to be. SB 192, where Susie Chun Oakland was a principal sponsor. It makes solicitation of a minor in terms of prostitution a crime, increases the statute of limitations to bring a cause of action for coercion into prostitution from 2 to 6 years, I think is very, very important, particularly when we find circumstances of importation of this goes back to the trafficking issue again. And let me tell you something, people, as far as I'm concerned, you can talk about importing from various regions on this island or other islands too. It's the same thing in my view. It clarifies the minimum and maximum fine for a person who's convicted of committing an offense of prostitution. It adds offenses of solicitation of a minor for prostitution, habitual solicitation for prostitution, and solicitation of prostitution near schools and public parks under the state's forfeiture laws. This is very, very important, I think, in terms of the maximum reach and penalty that can be assigned. It amends the definition of sexual offense under the sexual offender registry laws to include acts that consist of the solicitation of a minor who is less than 18 years old for prostitution, and requires registration of the sexual offender registry for conviction of solicitation of a minor for prostitution as a Tier 1 offense. This may seem a bit esoteric to those who aren't familiar with it, but let me assure you that these are fundamental measures in order to deal with the conditions and circumstances that we're speaking of here. Then SB 532, breastfeeding in the workplace. Again, Susie was one of the principal sponsors here. And please don't be offended if I leave some people out. This is an inclusion, the atmosphere that I want to establish. This requires employers to provide reasonable time and private location for breastfeeding employees. I always love this phrase, to express breast milk. Express, I'd never heard that before, but I know it now. It's a form of expression I hadn't quite pictured before. It requires covered employees to post a notice. And of course, you can take that a couple of different ways too, when you're covered and uncovered, and so on. But that's the punster. It establishes a civil fine for violations, and I want to particularly cite Deb Trankel from Queens Hospital. My wife and I have a lot of aloha for Queens. We know that you're always telling the emergency vehicles who come outside our bedroom window at 2 in the morning to turn off the sirens as quickly as possible. So, but you've done a great job. You're the president of the Breastfeeding Hawaii, and we're very grateful to you. And you are known, by the way, as a political neophyte. You are a political neophyte. That is to say that you haven't been involved in seeing legislation through before, but now you are an expert. You see, so this is your graduation day as well. You're going to move from a neophyte status, that is to say rookie status, in the political process, and from now on everybody will say, let's go see Deb, she knows how to get things done. Okay? And then SB 535, Roz Baker, Representative Takumi are involved in this. Hawaii has become the second state, and Yes, now I also have the approval of my spouse for this. Thank you. I can now officially go home this evening and be welcome. This becomes the second state after New York to place basic labor protections under domestic workers into law. And I do want to say that the joy I have in my life in being married to someone whose first thought, almost from the time she wakes up, is the welfare of other women, is something that gives me lots of energy and focus, I can tell you that. This establishes basic rights and protections for domestic workers. It entitles workers to overtime pay, time for meal and rest breaks, and provides basic civil rights protections. Isn't that incredible? I have to say that we have to somehow pass a law to provide basic civil rights protections instead of it just being ubiquitous to our society today. Nonetheless, it provides basic civil rights protections against abuse and harassment. I certainly want to cite as well the State Civil Rights Commission and Bill Hoshijo for their role in this, and everyone else here. Please don't feel slighted by that. 655, health. Josh Green was one of the principal sponsors. I don't know if Josh was able to be here today. As you know, he's a physician and may be at work today on the Big Island. It allows health professionals to treat partners of patients diagnosed as having certain sexually transmitted diseases by dispensing or prescribing medication to partners without examining them. In other words, a good common sense approach to public health. At the expedited partner therapy would be in accordance with the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention guidelines and recommendations. So we think we're going to become part of a national effort in this, and this will have a very, very positive effect, I believe. And of course, it also provides liability protection for physicians that are engaged in trying to do the right thing, so that they are not pursued for trying to exercise their good judgment. And then finally, HB 587, Derek Kawakami is here, one of the principal sponsors here, carrying on the Kawakami tradition now for 3 generations from the island of Kauai. It amends the Penal Code to include that it should be unlawful to physically abuse persons in a, quote, dating relationship, unquote. We know how that term, that phrase of art, can be abused in and of itself. It requires a police officer to separate a perpetrator in a family or a household member who has been physically abused for at least 48 hours. So some of these things have very practical applications. Some of them deal with very broad and deep issues of concern, but they almost always are manifested in an individual instance. And probably both things. An individual instant, something can change forever. A mistake in judgment, a misuse of authority, and things can change forever. And so I certainly want to commend the Hawaii Women's Legislative Caucus and the Commission on the Status of Women, and of course all the advocates for human issues that are also women's issues by extension. And I want to thank all of you for your work to continue to improve our laws and to empower women and girls in Hawaii. I think, in summary, 1340 sends a message to young adults who were former foster youth that we're going to continue to support them in their transition to adulthood. I think we're going to be able to assist them on their journey to becoming independent and self-sufficient. I just gave a talk to one of the things that I got started in support of the Youth Challenge program. We graduated our 37th class since we got started when I was in Congress in 1993, working with the National Guard and the Youth Challenge Academy. I had lunch today with somebody whose son is a graduate of the Youth Challenge and straightened them out, gave them an opportunity. Foster care, meeting with the kids, I say the kids, the young men and women that were there, and the extraordinarily intelligent and compassionate focused judges that are in the family court system with regard to foster care. Having these supports in place, I believe, lays the foundation for long-term positive outcomes for youth, and 1340 is a terrific addition to that. And I think SB 529 will keep our kids safe from a parent who's a convicted rapist. I know this sounds to some people like some bizarre Lifetime Network movie or something, some kind of fictional case on television that is otherwise meant to be titillating and so-called entertainment. It's not entertainment for those that suffer from it. You cannot further victimize a survivor through a child conceived from assault, and family courts are required then to deny custody, visitation, or terminate parental rights to a person who's convicted of sexual assault with respect to a child conceived through that assault. You've probably seen the Keiki Need Relief from Poverty, the Kids Count report. And so this, I believe, the legislature didn't have to see the Kids Count report to make the efforts that they were doing. So all of these bills, individually and collectively, are terrific. I'm very, very pleased to be able to sign them, and I'm going to start right now, and I'm going to ask all the legislators right now if they would to come up and gather around. And then when we're through with this, I'm going to ask everybody who wants to have a picture taken to commemorate. Let's do it. You have to be self-selecting, and we'll do it by groups and by individuals. We'll take our time, and I'm happy to do it. And I'll look forward to that. And if just before I sign these bills, then, is there anyone in of the groups or individuals out here who'd like to say a word or two with respect to the signing or any individual bill or your effort, or would you like to compliment some of these legislators up here? It won't hurt anybody's feelings. Anybody, or have I pretty much summarized it?
Well,
I knew.
I'm so shy.
Yeah.
I would really like to. I would really like to thank everybody who was involved in this whole package of legislation, especially the human trafficking focus and the. I'm so proud that Hawaii is just after New York State, the second state out of 50 to have a domestic workers' Bill of Rights. This is the most intimate form of human exploitation because domestic workers are invisible, they have no rights, they are hidden away in people's homes, and the fact that we have strengthened the policies that are going to make their lives more humane, like every other worker has been able to have since 1934. So I want to thank all of you so much. And where's Roy? And I just want to also thank a brilliant young activist on the East Coast, Ai-jen Poo, who's head of the Domestic Workers Alliance. She has so many degrees. She could be a professor at MIT or Harvard or anywhere, and she has devoted her talents and her work to organizing domestic workers. And she was just here. She spoke with many of you, and she gave talks, and what a role model for young women. So Ai-jen Poo, aloha, mahalo.
Anyone else? Thank you, Gary. Okay. Let's start with relating to breastfeeding in the workplace. SB number 532. Done. When we're through, I'll take one of the bills and, if it's okay with you, have it represent the entire caucus effort, and then we'll take all the pictures, okay? This is relating to Human Trafficking, Act 245, HB 1068. Done. And then SB 535, Act 248, relating to labor. Oops. I got so excited I got ahead of myself. Done. Now, HB 587, which is Act 251, relating to the Penal Code, the dating relationship bill. Done. Now, 655, Act 250, relating to health. This is the Center for Disease Control partnership bill. Done. And now SB 192, Act 247, relating to prostitution and the solicitation of a minor for prostitution. Purposes of. Done. And now finally, again, Human Trafficking Awareness Month, HB 1187, Act 246. Done. Well, now how about any of you folks would like to say a word at this time? Clayton, Cheryl, go ahead.
I just really want to thank three sets of legislators. First of all, I think the leadership teams in both the House and the Senate really need to be commended. I think the diversity of the bills that we just see before us really shows the kind of latitude that they gave to the membership, and that they put really competent folks in the positions that needed to get these bills done. So I really want to thank the leadership. I want to secondly thank the individual champions of each of these bills, people like Representative Roy Takumi, Representative Kawakami, Senator Baker, all of you up here, because it's with those individual champions that these bills actually move forward. And finally, I just want to thank the members of the Women's Caucus. I want to thank Representative Marilyn Lee. I think we've been working on these issues for so long that it's amazing to see, again, the diversity and breadth of the bills in front of us. And I think it's a historic session for us. I want to thank my colleagues very much.
Can I also add the executive branch members as well as the community? I think there was a lot of work during the interim among many community stakeholders, and I think we all appreciate the work that you've done over the years. Thank you.
And Governor, I just want to thank the chairs of the judiciary committees, because many of these measures came from a subject matter to judiciary and would not have advanced without their support. So we members of the Women's Caucus appreciate our male colleagues who we claim as part of our caucus as well. So thanks, please.
You can thank Marilyn Lee. I worked for her for 6 years.
And of course, the well-known feminist leader, Clayton He, cannot be left out.
Well, let me thank the community advocates. I see a few here that have been on our tails for several years. And I can assure you, as the Judiciary Chairman in the Senate, not only we get encouraged by the female colleagues in the House and the Senate, but we get instructed from them which bill passes and which bill sits a little bit longer. So it's a great honor. One of the great privileges of serving in the legislature is the opportunity to interface with advocacy groups, Civil Rights Commission, Breastfeeding. Nancy Caraway is a group in and of herself, and so many others, but it really is a privilege. And then the legislators who introduced the bill, the several bills, are very passionate about those issues. Right behind me is Derek Kawakami, and we sat for a bit and talked about the reason and purpose for his initiative. So it's really a village that puts the work together, and I'm certain that we're going to meet again next session, and I look forward to it. Thank you very much.
I particularly wanted to mention one other group that is represented here today by our friend from Kauai. The prosecutors across the state as well have been very, very supportive and helpful. It'd be real easy to stand up and just say, oh, let's just increase penalties or something of that nature. That is the exact opposite of the way that the prosecutorial side of the equation has been advanced. Quite the opposite. There's a lot of clear thinking, a lot of in-depth consultation and commentary, which I think has been extraordinarily helpful in making it easy to sign these bills in terms of their constitutionality and the effectiveness of what otherwise would be seen simply as penalties.
We should also acknowledge Senator Miley Shinobu. She's not here today. I don't think it's something that her fingerprints on a lot of these measures as well.
Yes, she's carried a lot of water buckets.
Right.
And Governor, I'd also like to point out, I'd like to thank both chairs of the Judiciary, yourself, and of course we pointed out our prosecuting attorney, Justin Kohler, but it was really a constituent from Kauai that brought to our attention, and she's a young lady, Bethany Compton, from Kauai. She does a lot of work with the YWCA, and so she actually pointed out the gap in our current law that left some people unprotected, so we want to give a shout out to her as well.
Very good. That's precisely the thing that, don't let anybody tell you, Deb, you can be one, that individuals don't count, or that people won't listen, or that you can't make a difference. The last thing I want to say on this is what's involved here is a lot of underdogs. Our puppies here. This dog, this dog is loved and cherished. And just as a lot of the people that are in here, they haven't necessarily been loved and cherished. And so there's a lot of underdogs that are represented in this bill and in these bills. And what this says is that underdogs should always be able to have a fighting chance. And these bills are going to give people a fighting chance. Very good. Now it's time for holy pictures. We're going to move this chair back. And we'll take pictures with our good friends in the legislature, and then we're going to take pictures all together. You can't escape Roy that quick. Oh, sure. Let's put this, can you help me there, please? Let's put this mic just slip it. There you go. Okay.
Okay, right here. 1, 2, and 3. Thank you.
Okay? Okay, who should we do? You want to take pictures? Those of you who want to take pictures with the legislators, take them by yourselves. We can do it all
How about
together.
we get breastfeeding Hawaii?
Breastfeeding,
Yes.
here we go,
We got
yeah.
a lot of chapters.
Oh, yeah.